Okay, let me go to another direct question to you, kapatid. Do you think that the BBL, as proposed, contains unconstitutional elements? I'm sure you've looked at it, or you've consulted others. Ano ba ang
Well,
tingin niyo?
I heard many versions, as you have mentioned, Ray. Now, one important person I heard was former Senator Nene Pimentel. He said, and I quote, that how can you have almost 90% of the entire country adopting a unitary system or presidential system, then a portion of the entire territory is adopting another system?
Well, that is one point that people have raised up na nasabi nila that the President has no authority to sign an agreement that confers a different form of government. The Constitution allows only a devolved authority like the ARMM in Cordillera and in Mindanao.
That's right.
They cannot confirm even a parliamentary form of government, which is alien to our form of government. But a large part of it is, any lawyer can try to create an argument to justify it.
That's right.
The question is, in the end, the Supreme Court will have to resolve that.
Right. I agree.
Okay? Kanya lang, ang punto ko dito, why do you want to go into that agreement if there are constitutional elements that may be doubtful without what the government should have done first, and this was something which Pinoy resisted for the 5 years he was in office, was to create a constitutional commission to allow amendments to the Constitution which could have taken into consideration these matters. So that, that's the basic law of our land.
That's right.
Ay, ano ba naman ang gusto mong gawin? Itong pinagkasunduan natin, dito tayo mamumuhay, ito mga rules and regulation. Tapos gusto mong labagin. Abay, sino ka ba na magbabago doon kung ang kapangyarihan wala naman safe nasa tao? Di ba? So that's part of the issue and the problem that we are facing here. And it is not confined to one issue that is unconstitutional. Based on the reports that we have said, katakot-takot. Even the definition of sovereignty. This is where the Supreme Court even talked about external and internal sovereignty. That in a devolution, pwede yan sa internal, but pag external, you're already creating a state, no matter how asymmetric the relationship is.
Now, this afternoon, I heard from the other station saying, citing one constitutionalist, saying that in other countries now, Ray, some government are now considering peace as the primordial objective prior to understanding the intent and the spirit of the Constitution, which I am a layman, I'm not a lawyer, but which I cannot agree.
Yeah.
Because Constitution of the Philippines is the basic formula to resolve any.
If there is peace, and who will guarantee that?
That's right.
In other words, it's speculative for us to say, pag may BBL, merong kapayapaan. O kung walang BBL, may kapayapaan. The question is, what risk do you take to start something that can result in the fragmentation of a country? Who is to tell what is the long-term effect of this or the medium-term effect of this? Or even the short-term result? Now, we were talking here about, pagka daw merong BBL, gera. Baka mamaya mag-away dyan ng MNLF at saka MILF. We hear all these rumors na naghahanda na si Normie Suarez sa Holo, nagpo-fortify na't lahat, etc., etc. So, dito natin nakikita. Ngayon, tanong, credible pa ba at malakas pa ba ang MNLF o talagang nangingibaw ng gusto ang MILF?
The MNLF, as far as I understand, is, adhering to the principle that is being agreed in a meeting between the MNLF with the Organization of Islamic Conference.
Yeah.
You cannot.
That is based on the peace agreement of before.
No, based now on the principles that in order for peace to be achieved, that each party must recognize the position of each party. However, the MNLF made it very clear that it cannot agree with the present BBL because how can an international treaty signed between President Ramos and Professor Misuari in 1960s be surpassed by the present
administration? That is already standing. But there is one interesting question. Kung mapasa itong BBL na ito, palagay mo lang, anong gagawin natin sa lahat ng Muslim sa ibang parte ng Pilipinas?
That is why
Ano yun? Pababalikin mo lahat sila sa Mindanao?
As
Sila
per-
libre pumunta dito maski nasaan.
Right.
Pero doon, ililimit nila. Ano ba ito? Is there going to be free access?
I hope they will not resort to that. Otherwise, mas malaki ang gulo mangyayari.
Alam mo, sa akin, ang na-trouble ako,
Oo.
there are many Muslims that are preaching throughout this nation and nobody bothers them, nobody discriminates. They are fully and fully allowed. Will it be the same in the BBL area?
I heard that question, Ray.
Oh.
That's why I reiterated the position with due apology of President Marcos. When secular problem like this arise, what President Marcos did, because we were young then that time, is to call the attention, to invite the attention of the religious group to formulate a policy that were not, isolate one religion
Aba,
from the
wait
other.
a minute. It says there that as far as they're concerned, the Sharia law is supreme in the
Well,
BBL.
I
Paano
have-
ka makikialam doon?
I am not-
Sasabihin nila, wala kayong pakialam dito.
I am not a lawyer.
Oh.
But, Ray, if that is supreme, then it tantamounts to really, declaring that this region is different from the other regions of the country.
In a word, they're being given all of the rights of a fully independent state without saying so.
Yeah.
Di ba? 0915-637-7456 from Paulo of Cagayan. The danger with the BBL, aside from its unconstitutionality, is that if BBL will be passed, automatically Sabah will belong to Malaysia. It will be legitimized.
Oh, no, that
That is your position.
that is our position, Ray.
Right? And nobody has given the BBL or anybody a right to
No.
make angkin the Sultanate of Sulu's claim and sovereignty over Borneo.
Yes. No.
And they cannot just erase that.
Yan ang sinasabi natin, Ray. Maskin halimbawa, Malaysia is the facilitator, at least naman, in show of respect by the MILF leadership, should explain to the Sultanate of Sulu. When they were explained to the Sultanate, they are not the MILF leadership is not explaining to the Sultan of Sulu, but the constituent of the Sultanate of Sulu, in order that the BBL can be fully understood by the people in the area.
Okay, 0912-939-8103 from Barangay Captain Mangubat, Coronadal City. BBL is facilitated by Malaysia to silence Sabah claim and to control it. The Sultanate should fight for it at all cost and this campaign BBL. Mabuhay ang Sultanate. Oh, yun ka ng bagong doon sa...
Maraming salamat. Maraming salamat, Mr. Magobat.
Ito naman from 0929-813-6495 from Mark Reyes of Makati. Ano po ba ang totoong historical background ng Sabah kung bakit sila naging part ng Malaysia? Well, the position of the Sultanate is it's never been part of Malaysia.
Never been part of Malaysia because Great Britain incorporated the old name North Borneo as a new state of Sabah in 1963. But in the view of the Sultanate, what is being incorporated is not the territory but the leasehold rights of the British North Borneo Company.
Okay, well, because there is an existing lease agreement at saka ang punto po doon, ano man ang sabihin ng Malaysia, hanggang ngayon nagbabayad sila ng upa, maski nakaliit-liit.
Yes.
So ang punto lang dito, question of course, it begs the question.
That's right.
If Malaysia is willing to buy peace from the Sultanate regarding Sabah, for the right kind of money is the Sultanate willing to give up that sovereignty?
Since late Sultan Punjungan Kiram, Ray, he declared Sabah is not for sale. Now,
No, I know that is to me a political
now,
statement.
But what is the importance of that statement? Because the late Sultan Punjungan Kiram believed that development of Sabah in a proper, management will not only benefit the people in the archipelago of Sulu, but the entire Filipino people in resolving our economic crisis. That's how in fact, even Sultan Ismail Kiram II viewed.
That's how they look at it.
Yes, that's right.
It sounds like a pretty good statement that at least what we see here is the Sultanate of Sulu is not just thinking of itself, but the whole nation,
The whole nation,
because they consider themselves part of the nation.
In fact, Ray, that is the reason why Sultan Ismail Kiram II is opposing the changing of the name of the Sulu Sea, because if ever there is oil exploration in the Sulu Sea, it must first benefit the entire Filipino people.
Okay. From 0929-173-3879 from Dodong Arais of Butuan City. To prevent war, why not totally separate islands of Sulu, Tawi-Tawi, and Basilan from the Philippine territory? I mean, in other words, he's encouraging you to declare independence, which, of course, as you know, the Sultanate has no intentions of doing.
Yes, but Ray, I have explained that the Sultanate has no intention of doing that. Because if we were to do that, we have entered into treaties with foreign
Different
governments.
nations.
That is there, to us, to the Sultanate of Sulu,
Valid.
is valid. For instance, the Kiram Carpenter agreement. Because the Kiram Carpenter agreement was not abrogated when the archipelago of Sulu was incorporated to the Philippine Commonwealth. Now, what is the content? The essence of the Kiram Carpenter agreement. The United States government agreed to place the Sultanate of Sulu, or the Kingdom of the Sultanate of Sulu, under the protectorate of the United States. So, even if we will not go to the extreme of separating, the Sultanate of Sulu can remind the United States government to reconsider its position by treating the Kingdom of the Sultanate like Guam and Hawaii. But the Sultanate of Sulu never attempt to do that. Why? Because it is already happy with the Republic of the Philippines.
Well, that's a very nice thing to hear, that you prefer the being incorporated into the Philippines than being a protectorate of America. But even if you did try to invoke that Harrison Agreement, the question is, do you think America will fulfill it?
Well, you know, Ray, one of the problems of America now is how to find its military base. Now, in complying with that, America is no longer interested, in leasing any territory, but just, entering into agreement whereby they can easily deploy their forces.
That is why the MOA under Gloria, to me, was simply an attempt to give certain powers. Remember, in that MOA, the ARMM area, or the Bangsamoro people, were allowed to enter into any treaty with any other nation, provided it contained a non-aggression provision in favor of the whole Philippines. And to me, that simply meant, now I can put any kind of force in that area in agreement or in conjunction with the ARMM leaders, and that includes violating some of the fundamental elements, for example, of the Philippine Constitution, that there will be no nucleic arms based here.
In order that the Sultanate of Sulu could comply with all the provisions of our Constitution, Ray, during the time of President Gloria, late Sultan Jamalur Kiram III wrote a letter urging for the participation of the Sultanate of Sulu in the ongoing peace talks between the MI.
Hindi na naman pinansin.
Hindi naman pinansin. Likewise, during the time of the present administration, sumulat din, ganon din. Why? Sapagkat gusto ng Sultanate of Sulu to side with the Philippine government in strengthening its position. Hindi yung we are negotiating with any groups in the position of weak.
Well, it's kind of a difficult, pero siguro ang problema kasi dito, alam nila na pag sinali nila ang MNLF or the Sultanate into any of these agreements, siguro tingin na siguradong gulo yan.
I don't see.
There will be a lot of confusion and banggaan.
Hindi naman siguro, Ray, but like for instance, Malaysia. Malaysia will move heaven and earth to prevent the participation of the Sultanate of Sulu in any peace agreement.
Kasi tingin nila sa'yo kalaban eh.
Hindi, because they wanted also to protect their illegal administration over Sabah at all cost.
So they see you as an enemy. We cannot allow your claim to
That's
rise.
why in the position of the Sultanate, Ray, any agreements that is anchored on economic, addressing poverty and everything, is not a lasting peace agreement to assure longer security of Mindanao, Sulu, and Palawan. Unless, Ray, without first resolving the issue of Sabah. If this Sabah issue will be resolved once and for all between the tri-parties, meaning the Philippine government, Malaysia, and the Sultanate of Sulu, Malaysia will no longer intervene indirectly or directly.
Okay, question. Kapatid, are the heirs or the present sultan, are they willing to come and take a common one position so that such negotiations can take place? Because nothing is barring that negotiation
There
from
are
taking
two
place.
issues here, Ray, proprietary and sovereignty.
Oh.
Now, the Philippine government, Malaysia, and the Sultan of Sulu, not the Sultanate, the Sultan of Sulu, can tackle the issue by first resolving the sovereignty issue. Now, proprietary refers to the 9 principal heirs. So that in resolving the issue, the issue must not be, the two issues, proprietary and
It
sovereignty.
has to be comprehensive.
Must, yes. That's why
But do you think the heirs are willing to, and the Sultanate are willing to really resolve it with finality so it's no longer an issue?
well, the issue of
Of course, it
disunity.
depends on how much.
No, Ray. The issue of disunity is being propagated by Malaysia because that is only one propaganda whereby they cannot, they can evade from the reality. Remember, Ray, in 1963, an agreement was entered into by Indonesia, Philippines, and Malaysia. What is this 1963 agreement? That was known as a Manila Accord. Now, what is the intent and spirit of this agreement? The inclusion of North Borneo or Sabah into the Federation of Malaysia will not prejudice the interests of the parties concerned. But it has to be resolved. Number one, adjudication, arbitration, and through peaceful means. Now, in 1968, when President Marcos challenged Malaysia to agree to bring the matter to the International Court of Justice, ayaw ng Malaysia. So it is not the heirs that needs to be united. The Malaysia has to comply with the international, provisions, international law provisions, and other agreements being signed by her and the Philippine government.
Well, as you know, problema natin dito, ang isang oras napakabilis. No? We've come to the end. So the issue that comes up then is, state your final position in as few words regarding BBL.
Well, Filipino people, the Sultanate of Sulu is for peace. But the Sultanate of Sulu viewed the BBL with cautious pessimism in view of the fact that the Sultanate has standing, agreements with the Philippine government as well as with its position over the Sabah claim. Now, what we need is for explanation of the MILF to explain to the Filipino people its position regarding the Sabah claim, in as much as the facilitator of this MILF JPH agreement is the government of Malaysia.
Of course, they are going to go and comply with the position of Malaysia because the chairman there is a Malaysian citizen. That, I think, is the problem. This is why credibility is so important. In other words, it will not be an honest statement. But based on that and knowing that we cannot resolve all issues, you've heard it from the Sultanate of Sulu, and maybe next week we'll have somebody else who will speak and take the other side. But in any case, I want to thank you for being with us, but we always close with a prayer. So I invite you to pray with us.
Yes, right.
Father in heaven, we just give you
Amen.
thanks and praise for your goodness and your mercy. We look for peace, but we want the peace that is moved by divine wisdom, not human cunning, not human fear, not human ambition, not human greed. We are looking out for the welfare of the smallest Filipino, including all the smallest Muslims that are there in Mindanao. It is their interest that we are trying to lift up, that they might enjoy a peaceful life, a full life, with opportunities for education and advancement. That they might be able to have what they call in some constitutions, the pursuit of happiness, be able to do that. We give you thanks and praise for your goodness because you are still the sovereign God. And all things in this world happen somehow because you have allowed it to happen. We give you thanks and praise for this. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you very much, Ray.
Salamat din.